I'm not sleeping with you until you apologize to him, my girlfriend said when we got home after I caught her best friend kissing her at a party and threw him out by his collar. I said okay. Packed my bag the next day while she was out with him. Left a note. Sleep with him then. A week later, she showed up crying at my door. I didn't open it. Hey viewers, this channel is demonetized. My ability to keep creating these stories is officially in your hands. I want to keep producing, but I need your direct support to stay in business. If you want these videos to stay on your feed, join the Patreon below. You're the only reason I can keep doing this. The party was in full swing when I noticed it. 30-some people packed into a house, music thumping, drinks flowing. Jenna was in her element, laughing, floating from group to group. And Kyle was everywhere she was. I'd known about Kyle since the beginning. The best friend from college. The one she called like a brother. I'd accepted it because I trusted her, and because every time I raised an eyebrow, she made me feel like I was the problem. Too sensitive. Too jealous. So I'd learned to swallow the unease and call it maturity. But that night, something was off. Kyle's hand was on her waist again, lingering. His mouth by her ear, whispering things I couldn't hear. She'd laugh, tilt her head toward him, never step back. I watched it happen 3 times before I finally walked up to her. Can I talk to you for a second? She gave Kyle a little shrug and followed me toward the hallway. I kept my voice low. Kyle's been glued to you all night. What's going on? He's like a brother, she said, already annoyed. He's going through a breakup. Let him lean on me. It's not leaning. The hands, the whispering. It's a lot. Don't be that guy, David. The jealous boyfriend. It's not a good look. I'm not jealous. I'm noticing. She patted my chest like she was calming a child. Notice less. He's family. Let me be a good friend. I looked at her. I could have pushed, but we were at a party. People were watching. I nodded. Fine. She walked back to Kyle. He looked at me over her shoulder and didn't smile. I went to the kitchen to grab another drink. That's when I saw it. Kyle had Jenna backed against the counter, one hand cupping her jaw. Their mouths together, not a peck, not a drunken mistake. A real kiss. Slow. Intentional. Her eyes were closed. She wasn't pushing him away. Something cold clicked into place in my chest. I didn't yell. I crossed the kitchen, grabbed a fistful of Kyle's collar from behind, and yanked him backward. He stumbled, choking, clawing at his throat. I dragged him through the living room. People gasped. Phones came up. Someone shouted. Kyle was screaming, "Get off me!" Jenna was shrieking, "David, stop!" I opened the front door and threw him onto the lawn. He hit the grass hard, rolled, came up sputtering. You're insane. I closed the door. The party was silent. Every eye on me. Jenna stood frozen near the hallway, her face pale. I grabbed my keys. We're leaving. She didn't argue. She grabbed her purse and followed me out. The car ride was worse than the party. Silence, thick and heavy. Streetlights sliding across her face. She stared out the passenger window, arms crossed, jaw tight. She wasn't crying. She wasn't explaining. She was angry. I finally broke the silence. Start talking. She didn't turn around. What's there to talk about? You just humiliated me in front of everyone. He kissed you. He was drunk. He's heartbroken. It was a stupid moment. You turned it into a scene. I kept my eyes on the road. Why did he think he could kiss you? She didn't answer. Jenna, men don't just kiss women out of nowhere. Something made him believe that was allowed. What was it? Her voice sharpened. Because he actually listens to me, David. He asks how I'm feeling and actually hears the answer. He doesn't go cold and logical and remote. He's present in a way you haven't been in a long time. The words landed like a punch. So this is my fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. That's exactly what you're saying. You're telling me your friend kissed you because I wasn't emotionally available enough. She didn't answer. The silence did the work for her. All those times you vented to him about how cold I am. Were you also coming home and telling me what you needed? Or were you saving the real conversations for him and giving me the scraps? Her reflection in the window said everything. That's what I thought. You don't get to do that, she snapped. I've been lonely for months. You didn't notice. Or you didn't care. Either way, the result is the same. So the solution was Kyle's mouth on yours. Screw you. No, screw you. I didn't raise my voice. A man kissed my girlfriend, and instead of a single word of apology, you've spent this whole drive defending him and attacking me. Do you understand how insane that is? She stared at me. For a second, I thought I'd broken through. Then her face hardened again. I'm not going to feel guilty for being honest. If you can't handle that, it's your problem. That was it. The woman I'd loved for 3 years had just shown me exactly who she was. I said nothing for the rest of the drive. I pulled into our complex, parked, and killed the engine. She got out first and walked inside. I sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, the engine ticking as it cooled. I thought about the weekend I'd spent sleeping in a hospital chair after her surgery. The credit card debt I'd quietly paid off so she could breathe. The friend I'd distanced myself from because my closeness to another woman made her uncomfortable. And through all of it, Kyle was the sacred exception. Always touching. Always whispering. Always defended. I got out of the car. The night air was cool and clean. I walked up the stairs to our apartment. The door was open. Jenna was standing in the bedroom doorway, arms crossed, waiting. She had something to say. I could feel it. I was not prepared. I walked into the apartment and found her in the bedroom doorway, arms crossed, still wearing that expression of righteous certainty. She'd kicked off her heels. The dim lamp light caught the sharp edges of her face. "I've been thinking," she said. "Have you? I'm not sleeping with you until you apologize to Kyle." I laughed. A short, disbelieving sound. I actually thought she was joking. After everything, the kiss, the car ride, the silence where an apology should have been, she had to be making some dark, absurd joke. She wasn't. "You assaulted him, David. You grabbed him by the collar and dragged him across a room full of people. He's humiliated. You owe him an apology." "He kissed my girlfriend. I removed him from the room. That's not assault. That's consequence. You put your hands on someone. You don't get to do that just because your ego is bruised. So here's how it's going to work. No sex. No intimacy. Nothing. Until you apologize to him. Maybe some distance will help you reflect." I stared at her. I searched her face for some flicker of the woman I'd loved, some crack in the armor where empathy might leak through. Nothing. Just cold certainty. 3 years. The weekend I'd spent sleeping in a hospital chair after her appendectomy, eating vending machine crackers because I wouldn't leave the floor. The $5,000 in credit card debt I'd quietly paid off so she could stop losing sleep over the interest. The female friend I'd slowly distanced myself from because Jenna said their closeness made her uncomfortable. And through all of it, Kyle was the sacred exception. Always touching. Always whispering. Always defended. I thought about all of it. And then I let it go. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay, what?" "Okay. I understand your position." Her posture softened, just slightly. She thought she'd won. I could see the satisfaction flickering behind her eyes. "Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable. Kyle and I are getting coffee tomorrow morning. He's really struggling after tonight. I'll let him know you're willing to have a conversation." Coffee. The morning after he kissed her. While punishing me for reacting to it. I turned around, walked to the living room, and closed the bedroom door behind me. I slept on the couch that night. Or tried to. Mostly I lay there in the dark, listening to the refrigerator hum, feeling 3 years of my life quietly detach from my chest. I heard her alarm at 8. The shower. The closet doors. At 9:15, she walked into the living room, dressed and made up. "I'm heading out. Kyle's waiting. We can talk when I get back." I looked at her from the couch and said nothing. She waited a beat, gave a small, tight shake of her head, and walked out. The door clicked shut. Footsteps on the stairs. An engine starting. Then silence. I got up. I called my brother first. Luke was 3 years younger, a remote software developer with a spare bedroom. He picked up on the second ring. "I need to store some stuff at your place. Maybe stay for a bit. Can you be home in an hour?" A pause. "Yeah. You okay?" "Not yet. But I will be." I called the landlord next, explained I was moving out, and arranged to pay my half of the remaining lease while removing my name from the paperwork. 15 minutes. Done. Then I started packing. Clothes from the closet. Toiletries from the bathroom. The small objects of daily life, swept into bags without ceremony. I left her things untouched. Her shampoo, her hairdryer, her clutter on the counter. I wasn't making a statement. I was just removing myself. While clearing the shared desk, I saw it. Her old phone, the one she'd replaced 6 months ago, still plugged in behind the desk lamp. I'd forgotten it existed. The screen lit up as I picked it up, a message preview from Kyle. "Are you okay? Last night was insane. I can't stop thinking about." I knew her passcode. She'd given it to me years ago. I typed in the 4 digits. The thread with Kyle was at the top. I scrolled up. Months of messages. Late-night conversations that started after I'd gone to bed. Private jokes. Selfies at midnight. Her venting about our relationship. He's so emotionally closed off. You're the only one who actually listens to me. If he could just be more like you. And Kyle's responses, sliding into the cracks. You deserve someone who actually sees you. His loss. If you were mine, you'd never have to beg for attention. Then the line that stopped my breath. Hers. You're the only man who understands me. I set the phone down. My hands were steady. I didn't take screenshots. I didn't need ammunition because I wasn't going to war. I just needed clarity, and I had it. I finished packing. 2 hours. The apartment looked strange, half empty, my side of the closet bare, my books gone from the shelf. 3 years reduced to a suitcase, 2 duffel bags, and a box. I walked to the kitchen and pulled the notepad off the fridge. Tore off a sheet. Found a pen. 3 words. Sleep with him then. I placed it on the counter, centered, impossible to miss. Then I picked up my bags, walked out, and closed the door behind me. I didn't lock it. She could have the apartment. She could have the lease. She could have the silence I left behind. I loaded my car in the late morning sun. A neighbor walking his dog gave me a nod. I nodded back. I got in, started the engine, and pulled out of the lot. At the first red light, I blocked her number. I blocked her on every app. I deactivated my social media accounts, quietly, without drama. The light turned green. I drove. Luke was waiting on his porch when I arrived. He took one look at my face and didn't ask questions. He just grabbed a duffel bag and carried it inside. No fight. No explosion. No tearful confrontation. Just a man, his brother, and the quiet, irreversible act of leaving. The first night on Luke's couch, I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, feet hanging off the armrest, listening to the refrigerator hum and my brother's distant snoring. The window faded from black to charcoal to gray. I watched the whole thing happen. I wasn't replaying the kiss. I was replaying her voice in the bedroom. You owe him an apology. The calm certainty. The way she twisted everything. His betrayal, my reaction, until I was the villain and she was the judge. 3 years of trust, and I'd been sentenced without a trial. Other memories surfaced. The anniversary dinner where Kyle showed up uninvited and she insisted he join us, leaving me to pay the bill while they laughed at private jokes. The work conference I'd skipped because she was scared about a minor surgery, only to later read her telling Kyle I lacked ambition. I'd swallowed it all, every slight, every red flag, because I thought that's what a secure man did. I'd mistaken silence for strength. By morning, something had shifted. Not healing, clarity. I finally saw the pattern. Every time I'd raised a concern about Kyle, she'd called me jealous. Every time I'd asked for boundaries, she'd called me controlling. The gaslighting was so consistent I'd started to believe her. Luke came out around 8, poured me coffee without asking. He took one look at my face and said nothing. That was Luke. He knew presence mattered more than questions. By day 3, the fog lifted. I went for a run. I cooked dinner with my brother and laughed at something stupid on TV. I realized I hadn't thought about Jenna in hours. The silence I'd created wasn't punishment for her. It was medicine for me. 10 days after I left, Nate called. He was one of the good ones, a friend who'd been at the party, who'd seen the kiss with his own eyes. He didn't gossip, but he told me what he'd witnessed because he thought I should know. Jenna came home from coffee with Kyle and found my note. She was furious. Not heartbroken, furious. She called everyone, Nate included, raging about how I was psychotic and emotionally abusive. The kiss, when mentioned at all, was a misunderstanding and a drunk mistake. She doubled down on everything. And she spent every day with Kyle. Out of spite. Out of need. She posted photos of them together, brunches, walks, movie nights, with captions like, grateful for the people who show up. Nate said it was transparent. She was trying to make me jealous. Within days, Kyle's mask slipped. The chase was over. He became possessive, entitled. He told people they were basically together without ever actually discussing it with her. The charming listener vanished, replaced by a man who'd wanted to win, not to love. She slept with him, Nate said. For days after you left. I let the words sit. For days. I was on Luke's couch, piecing myself back together, and she'd already taken him into our bed. You okay? Nate asked. I checked my internal weather. Clear skies. I'm fine. The story didn't end there. Within 2 weeks, Kyle lost interest. He started seeing someone younger, newer. When Jenna confronted him, he hit her with a line Nate swore was verbatim. "I never asked you to leave your boyfriend. You did that yourself." Clean. Cruel. Efficient. The friend group splintered. Some stuck by her out of loyalty, but the ones who mattered, the ones who'd seen what I'd seen, peeled away. Nate told a few people the truth. The kiss, her stillness, the way she didn't push him away. Then the old phone messages entered the conversation through another friend. The emotional affair had been running for months. The kiss was just the visible tip. Within a month, Jenna had lost the boyfriend who'd loved her, the best friend who'd pretended to, and half her social circle. She couldn't afford the apartment alone. I heard she moved back in with her parents at 29 to figure things out. Kyle was already gone, chasing the next conquest. I absorbed all of this from Nate's call with a strange, quiet calm. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel vengeful. I didn't need to call her or post a cryptic status. That would have meant I still cared. That night, I cooked dinner with Luke. We made pasta, nothing fancy. We ate on the couch. We watched an action movie with too many explosions. I laughed at a scene where a car blew up for no reason, and Luke laughed at me laughing. I slept well. No dreams. When I woke up, the sun was bright through the window. I made coffee. I drank it on the balcony. The city hummed below me, indifferent and alive. The chapter was closed. Not because she'd suffered enough. Because she'd stopped mattering entirely. A week passed. Maybe 10 days. I'd settled into Luke's spare bedroom. Mattress on the floor, a thrift store lamp. My clothes hung in a closet that smelled like cedar. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every object in that room belonged to me and carried no weight of someone else's judgment. I started cooking again. Stir-fries, omelets, pasta with whatever vegetables were on sale. Jenna had always controlled the kitchen, hovering over my shoulder with suggestions. I'd thought that was partnership. I now understood it was something else entirely. Luke and I fell into an easy rhythm. He worked from his room, emerged for coffee, left me alone. We ate dinner together most nights, talking about nothing important, sports, movies, a funny thing his coworker said. He never asked about Jenna. He could see I was rebuilding and gave me the space to do it. I started running every morning. For miles, sometimes 5. A route through a park near Luke's place, down a tree-lined path that opened onto a view of the river. I'd stop there, hands on my knees, breathing hard, watching the water move. It was the same river every day. It was never the same river twice. The calls began on day 2. Unknown numbers. I let them ring. Voicemails, clipped at first, businesslike. "David, we need to talk about the lease." I deleted them. By day 5, the tone shifted. "Please. I know you're getting these. I just want to talk." Deleted. Emails to my work address, subject lines telling the story. "I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Kyle isn't who I thought." I set up a filter that sent them straight to the trash. She tried mutual friends. Nate called twice. Jenna asked me to reach out. I told him he didn't need to pass along messages. He understood. A few others tried. Her friends, mostly, and I told them the same thing. "I'm not discussing this." They stopped calling. By day 8, the silence had returned. I thought it was over. I thought she'd finally accepted what I had, that the door was closed, the chapter finished. I was wrong. It was a Thursday evening. Luke was out on a date. I was alone, making a stir-fry, the kitchen filled with the smell of garlic and ginger. A podcast played quietly from my phone. The window above the sink was open, letting in the cool night air. The knock came at 7:30. 3 sharp pounds, a pause, then 3 more. Urgent. Insistent. I turned off the stove, walked quietly to the door, looked through the peephole. Jenna. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her face was thin, eyes red-rimmed and puffy. She was wearing my old hoodie, the one I'd left behind. She'd wrapped it around herself like armor. She knocked again. Harder. "David. I know you're in there. Your brother's car isn't in the lot, but the lights are on. I know you're home." I didn't move. I didn't speak. My hand rested on the wall, steady. "Please." Her voice cracked. "Please open the door. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Silence. The podcast still played in the kitchen, too quiet to hear from the door. I made a mistake. A huge, massive, unforgivable mistake. I know that. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm not here to blame you. I just want to say I'm sorry. Face to face. "Please, David. Please. Through the peephole, I saw tears cutting tracks through her makeup. Her shoulders shook. She looked small, diminished, hollowed out. A version of herself stripped of all the confidence she'd worn like a crown. A month ago, that sight would have broken me. I would have opened the door, pulled her inside, absorbed her pain, and made it my responsibility. That was who I'd been. The caretaker. The steady one. The emotional sponge. That man was gone. Qley isn't who I thought he was. The words spilled out faster now. He used me. He was just playing games. He never actually cared. He just wanted to win. Once you were gone, he didn't want me anymore. He's already seeing someone else. He told me he never asked me to leave you. Like I was nothing. I could believe it. I'd seen Qley for exactly what he was from the beginning. I threw away 3 years. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. For a man who saw me as a prize. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm staying at my parents' house because I can't afford the apartment and I can't stand being there alone. It's like you died. It's like I killed you and now I have to live in the grave. She pressed her palm against the door. I heard the soft thud through the wood. I'm choosing you now. I should have chosen you before, at the party, in the car, in the bedroom. I said horrible things. I was defensive and scared and so deep in my own lies I couldn't see what I was doing. But I see it now. I see all of it. Please let me choose you. I closed my eyes. I waited for the emotion to come. Grief, anger, pity, anything, nothing. I opened my eyes and looked through the peephole again. She was still there, forehead nearly touching the door, crying silently. Please, she whispered. I'm begging you. I didn't open the door. A long silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing, ragged and uneven. I could hear her shift her weight. I could hear the moment when something inside her snapped. Are you even listening to me? Her voice changed. The tears were still there, but something harder bled through, a familiar edge. I'm standing out here humiliating myself, begging, crying, and you're just standing there like a stone wall. Do you even care? Do you feel anything at all? I didn't answer. You're so fucking cold. She slammed her palm against the door. You've always been like this. So calm, so controlled, so above it all. This is exactly why I went to Qley. At least he showed me emotion. At least he acted like he wanted me. You're just an empty shell pretending to be a person. The mask was off. The apology had lasted less than 3 minutes before curdling back into the same accusations. She hadn't changed. She hadn't learned anything. She'd just run out of options and circled back to the one person she thought would always take her in. You never loved me. If you loved me, you'd open this door. You'd fight for me. But you don't care. You never cared. You just wanted a girlfriend who made you look good. And when things got hard, you disappeared. Through the peephole, I saw her face twisted, grief and fury tangled together, tears still falling, anger radiating off her. She looked exactly like the woman who'd sat on the edge of our bed and told me I owed her best friend an apology. I turned around. I walked back down the hallway, past the kitchen, past the cooling stir-fry, past my running shoes by the door. I walked to the far end of the apartment, to the balcony, and stepped outside into the cool night air. The city spread out below me, lights glittering, indifferent and alive. Behind me, I could still hear her knocking, fainter now, less frequent. Then silence. Footsteps retreating down the stairs. A car door. An engine. Then nothing but the distant hum of traffic and wind in the trees. I stayed on the balcony for a long time. Long enough for the stir-fry to go cold. Long enough for Luke to come home, take one look at my face, and decide not to ask. The last thing she ever said to me was through a closed door. And I never answered. Months passed. They passed quietly, the way time passes when you're no longer at war with your own life. I found a new apartment in the spring. A one-bedroom in a neighborhood I'd always liked but never considered because it was too far from Jenna's work, too inconvenient for her social circle. I chose it in a single afternoon, signed the lease without hesitation, and moved in on a Saturday with Luke's help and a rented truck. The first night in my own place, I sat on the floor of the empty living room and ate pizza straight from the box. No plates, no napkins, no one telling me I was doing it wrong. The walls were bare, the furniture sparse, and the silence was entirely my own. It felt like the first deep breath I'd taken in years. I got the promotion at work, the one I'd been passed over for twice, the one Jenna said I was too risk-averse to pursue. My new boss called me unflappable. I didn't tell him how I'd earned that particular skill. The social circle rebuilt itself. Some friends drifted away, the ones who'd always been more hers than mine. Others stayed. Nate became a closer friend than he'd ever been, and I found myself at his place for game nights and barbecues, laughing without weight. I made new friends too, a guy from work who played guitar, a couple from Luke's climbing gym, people who'd never met Jenna, people who knew me only as I was now. I dated. Nothing serious at first. Coffee with a woman from accounting, drinks with someone I met at a concert. It felt foreign and clumsy and unexpectedly light. I wasn't carrying the wreckage of a failed relationship into every conversation. I was just present, open to whatever came next. Jenna faded. There were echoes. Nate mentioned she'd moved back in with her parents for good, changed jobs, been seen at a few parties with a new guy. I absorbed the information without feeling it, like hearing about weather in a city I'd never visit again. One night at a party, someone mentioned her name. A woman I vaguely recognized. "She's doing better," she said carefully. "In case you were wondering." I nodded, picked up my drink. "That's good." Then I walked back to the living room and joined a conversation about a movie I'd seen that week. It was a good conversation. I laughed at something someone said and didn't think about Jenna again for the rest of the night. Not on the drive home. Not when I unlocked my door. Not when I got into bed and turned off the light. I thought about my run tomorrow. Whether I'd push for 5 miles or take it easy at 4. I thought about a project waiting for me at work. I thought about a woman I'd been texting. Nothing serious yet, but a door I was willing to open. I thought about my life. My quiet, steady, peaceful life. The one I'd built from the wreckage of a 3-year relationship that ended with a kiss in a kitchen and an ultimatum in a bedroom and a note on a counter with 3 words that said everything. "Sleep with him then." She did. And it cost her everything. I didn't take anything from her. I didn't punish her. I didn't orchestrate some revenge. I just stopped being available to lose. I closed the door, the literal one, the metaphorical one, all of them, and walked away. The last thing she ever said to me was through a closed door. The last thing I ever said to her was written on a piece of paper. As it turned out, that was all either of us needed. I closed my eyes. I slept. I didn't dream about her. And in the morning, the sun rose over my new neighborhood, and the river kept moving past the park, and I laced up my running shoes and stepped out into a day that was entirely my own. She stopped coming by after that night. The knocking, the calls, the emails, they all tapered off into something quieter, something that eventually became silence. I didn't check, didn't wonder, didn't ask. I just let the absence settle around me like a room I'd finally stopped needing to leave. A few weeks later, Nate mentioned she'd moved back in with her parents for good. The lease on our old apartment had run out, and she couldn't afford it alone. She'd told a few people that I'd abandoned her, that I was cold and heartless, but the narrative didn't stick the way it used to. Too many people had seen the truth. Too many people had watched her parade Kyle around before he discarded her. The sympathy she'd once commanded had dried up. "Heard she's looking for a job in another city," Nate said one night over a beer. "Fresh start, maybe." I nodded. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel anything at all. That was the strangest part of it. The total emotional vacancy where Jenna used to be. For 3 years, she'd occupied so much space in my head. Her moods, her needs, her constant reframing of reality. And now there was just room. Quiet, open room. I could think about my own day without bracing for someone else's reaction. I could make plans without calculating how they'd be criticized. I could breathe without permission. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. If you enjoy these stories and would like to help support the channel, my Patreon is linked in the description. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments.